Well, I'm Chef Len. I'm one of the chefs here today, and we have Annette with us, Annette Hottenstein. Annette's a registered dietitian. And we also have Matt with us, Matt O'Connell. He's our intern from the CIA. And today we're going to talk about layering flavors. And you had a wonderful chicken dish today at lunch. It was our orange chicken, and it had a ginger and orange relish on top with some smoked paprika. And we're going to show you how that's prepared today. We're going to do a version on a grill. The version you tried today was actually roasted in the oven, but for today's demo we want to do it more interactively so you guys can actually see the product cooking. So we're going to grill it on a grill pan. This is an item that a lot of home consumers are using now in the kitchen. You could certainly do this on an outdoor grill as well. If you're entertaining at home and you wanted to have an outdoor barbecue, this recipe would certainly work for that as well. But again, what we're going to do is introduce 3 layers of flavor in this recipe. I'm going to have Annette start out whipping up the marinade. And in each layer of flavor, we're going to introduce some spices and herbs. Of course, as we're trying to do today is do some low-fat cooking with low sodium. And, you know, this is a great way to go about it. She's using some orange juice. And when we're trying to reduce salt in a recipe, chefs often try and reduce sodium and add acid. Things like wine and orange juice or any kind of citrus, lemon or olive oil. So she's added thyme in with the orange juice, and there's about a tablespoon of olive oil in there. So what we're going to do is we've marinated this one. Of course, we're cooking for TV, so this one's already been in the marinade about 4 hours, and we love these Ziploc bags when we're marinating at home. So this has been in the marinade, and you can see that particulate from the thyme and the orange juice in there, and that's getting all happy, you know, sitting in there and absorbing all that wonderful flavor. So what we're going to do is we preheated our grill. This is about medium high. The grill's at about 450 degrees. And grilling is a great method of cooking. When you're trying to reduce fat, it's one of the healthiest ways out there, along with steaming. We're just going to do a light film of the spray there on the oil so the chicken doesn't stick. And the chicken is going to go on. Now this is a chicken breast that is pretty thin. It's a scallopini. So what we did is cut a full chicken breast in half lengthwise. And that's about a 4-ounce portion, 4 to 5 ounces, which is plenty, you know, for one recipe. So we're going to mark that. You know, you want to get that wonderful caramelization that the orange juice and the natural sugars in the chicken is going to create, and we'll do that crosshatch. We're going to move on to layering the second layer of flavor onto the chicken. And the way we're going to do that is a rub. And we love rubbing at McCormick. We love the rub on the rub. And the way you do that is we're going to use a little bit of brown sugar, and we're going to use some smoked paprika. This has got this is our gourmet label. This is a pimenton. It's a pepper from Spain, which we naturally smoke, and it's very aromatic. It's got a nice subtle smoky note. If you don't care for the smoked paprika, it's got a tiny bit of heat. You can use the sweeter paprika, which is in the red cap bottle, in lieu of that. So to make the rub, it's going to be a wet rub. You could do dry rub or wet rub. We're going to do about a tablespoon of the brown sugar. We have about a teaspoon and a half of the smoky paprika. And we've got a little bit of orange juice just to make it wet enough that we can brush it on to the chicken. So we're just going to whisk that together. And what the rub does, it creates this wonderful crust around the protein, and it seals in the juices, and it creates a great flavor as well. So that's the rub on the rub, right?
The rub on the rub.
And I know you know some great facts around capsicum and using paprika and peppers in general.
So capsicum is the family of plants that peppers come from. And the great thing about peppers, especially hot peppers, is that they can help support a healthy body weight. And there is some emerging science that eating a lot of red peppers can help lower your basal metabolic rate, which is actually the speed of which your body burns calories. So you're actually going to be burning your calories a little bit faster while you're just at rest doing nothing. Another thing you can do, if you have a meal that is spiced with a hot red pepper, it'll keep you fuller longer, okay? And there's been some studies at Purdue that have been showing that. And the third thing that it could do, I don't know about you, but if you eat spicy foods, do you typically eat those foods faster or slower? slower. So they lower the speed at which you consume the food, thereby, lowering the amount of calories, hopefully, that you'll take in. So it kind of works on three fronts that way. And any spicy red pepper would work similarly. So it's emerging science, and hopefully there'll be some more out there that will confirm some of the preliminary findings on this.
So what I did while Annette was talking is I just brushed the rub on there, that wet rub. So we've got it on one side, and we got a good sear on there, and then we're just going to flip it over, and we'll get that nice cross hatching that we're looking for. And we'll go ahead and brush the other side and get that smoked paprika rub. I mean, you guys can smell that, right? That aroma from the smoky paprika. It's great. It's one of my favorite products. I think smoked paprika is finally starting to emerge in this country. It's been used in Spain for centuries in classic recipes, things like paella, etc. But we're taking it out of the box a little bit here and using it as a wet rub. So the next layer of flavor that we're going to do, and this is the third and final layer, is the relish. And I think you guys remember this light citrus relish from lunch. What we're going to do is we've segmented some orange. We've got a small dice on Bermuda onion, a small dice on the red pepper. Ginger is going to be our spice in this layer. So we've got some ground ginger. We're going to use the zest from the orange, as well as the juice in the segments that we've got there. And we've got some parsley that we've chopped and a little bit of honey. And the honey is going to give us some natural sweetness. And this is just going to go all into a bowl, one large bowl.
And we're getting another partial serving of fruits and vegetables along with this dish.
And you can see the beautiful color that we got there. It's people eat with their eyes, so you always want to add all these beautiful colors in there that we've got from the red bell pepper and the orange. The honey will just give us a nice subtle sweetness going on in there. And then we're just going to mix that all together. I mean, you can see how easy this recipe is. It's simple to prepare, and it's really flavorful. When we're designing our recipes in the test kitchen, we typically try and shoot for 30 minutes or less for the consumer. We don't want to make things overly complicated. All the ingredients are readily available in the supermarket, so it's really friendly in that respect. So we've got some good caramelization going here. We're just going to, again, flip this one more time. At this point, we've got our relish. And we're going to be ready to plate up here pretty soon. Did you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about our Generation Fresh
sure.
recipes that we prepared?
So what we did this morning is we wanted to do a healthy rendition of a typical fried chicken breast that you would get at a fast food restaurant. So instead of frying it, we try to produce some of the flavors, by adding spices and herbs and some healthy coatings and very little fat. So we took a chicken, we pounded it thin, which helps to adhere some of the seasonings on. And we use different types of binders. A binder is what you use to put the coating on. We use mayonnaise, we tried mustard or milk. You can kind of mix it up and have some fun with it. This one is just a straight flour, it's thyme and some seasoned salt. So it's just a very straight mixture, very classic. But we had some fun with it. We added some extra vegetables and fiber to this one. This one's actually a sweet potato tortilla chip. What we do is we crush it up in our Cuisinart to get a fine powder. So we start with this, we put it in the Cuisinart, and it actually made a really fun coating. So this one we used a low-fat mayonnaise on top of the chicken to bind it on, and we just kind of patted the coating on. After we did that, we put it in a 425-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. So the whole process took definitely less than a half an hour. We did that pretty easily this morning. Compared to a typical fried chicken breast you get at a fast food restaurant, this is saving us about 300 calories and about 25 grams of fat. Plus we're getting some additional nutrition from the spices and herbs, and depending on what coating you pick, some fiber and some additional vegetables.
So what you're looking for is some granulation like that after you buzz it up in your food processor. But it's great. Again, the crust will seal in the juices and create texture, which is wonderful. And you always want to season your crust. So again, in here we added a little bit of oregano in one of the crusts. In the other one we had a little bit of rosemary. But certainly you could use our Perfect Pinch products in there as well when you're creating the crust. And take it in some ethnic environments. You could do an Asian one. You could do one that's southwestern. So certainly, get creative, but
A lot of these are sodium free, and this is
absolutely
those purple terra chips.
terra potato chips. But you could use like a high fiber cereal. Is great. This one has pecans in it, and just whiz that up, and they create great coatings. There's a lot of different adhesions that you can do. You could do a low-fat mayonnaise. You could do mustard. We actually dipped one of them in milk. So
Egg whites.
yeah, even our Creole mustard from Zatarain's is great, brushed on there, and then the chicken gets pressed in there.
I'm going to make this one for the next Ravens football game.
And of course the dipping sauces. Don't forget the dipping sauces. We did a strawberry and kiwi salsa. There's also a honey mustard there. And we did one with low-fat mayo. There's a low-fat mayo one with some apricot preserve, which is really tasty. So we're going to go ahead and plate up. Our chicken is cooked through at this point. And the way I like to serve this at home is, with a light salad. This is a great light summer dish, on the grill. So we've got a little bit of radicchio here, and then you could use some mixed greens. So we've got a little bit of mixed greens, and we'll do some baby spinach, and I've got some Belgian endive that we can certainly put on there. And this is star fruit, which is pretty and refreshing. And then we'll go ahead and put our chicken down. And then you'll get, almost like a natural dressing that this has created in this relish. You've got that'll dress your salad. So we can put, certainly a little bit of the relish over the top. And that's just really nice and light and refreshing. And we can dress our salad with a little bit of the juice that's in the bottom of the relish. And it smells terrific. It's very aromatic, how light and fresh that looks. And it's just a really healthy dish with a high impact flavor, low in sodium and low in fat. So I really love this one.
Yeah.
I know you tried it and you thought it was really good.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that's our dish. And anybody have any questions about how we prepared it, or?
How do you know when the chicken's done? Because I always end up cutting it through, and then it makes it ugly because I've cut a big hole with my chicken.
Yeah, unless you're sticking a probe, like we have a probe thermometer here, and certainly you could use something like this. It comes in really handy. You could probe it, but cutting into it is a great way. Often I'll press on protein too, and a trick that I have that when I'm cooking steak, because I don't want to cut into a steak, it leaches out all the juices. When you look at your thumb, and the relaxing muscle in your thumb, when your hand is fully relaxed, and you press on it, that's like rare, right? Because it's still, you can press on that muscle and it's still got a lot of give to it, right? Now when you do your thumb all the way down, right, and you press on that, that's well done, because what you've done is cooked all the juice out of the meat, and you can feel that that's, not giving you any resistance. And the middle is sort of medium. So that's a good trick. If you don't have a thermometer at the ready, or you don't want to cut into your meat, that's another way of doing it.
My grandfather was a chef, and he
Yeah.
would say this is medium, this is well done.
Yeah, that's the same principle of using, that muscle. Yeah.
And I find it with the chicken, if you scallopini it or pound it thin, it just cooks a lot faster, because sometimes those big, thick chicken breasts, the outside starts to burn by the time the inside
Yeah,
cooks.
that's why pounding or scallopining it is good, because it's all even. You've got a same, even stratosphere on there, so it's good.
Are there spices that don't respond well to heat?
Yeah, like some things will burn. Like if we put together, we do some rubs, and like we have to tweak them a little bit, because if there's too much sugar in them, sometimes they'll burn on the grill. Sometimes larger particulates too, things like whole fennel seed or things like that.
Like whole rosemary, if you have the whole rosemary.
So you want to crush that up.
And obviously fresh herbs, so if you wanted to use fresh basil, obviously that wouldn't go well in the grill, but dried basil would.
Put that on post-cook after it comes off.
And what about acids that start the cooking process?
Yeah, it's best to put that on, for example, if you put pineapple juice in something, the enzymes in that pineapple start eating away. So typically if you marinate with something like pineapple, it's got to be a quick marinade, maybe a half hour or so. You don't want that to sit overnight.
Other questions, or? Can I put a little tip in for ginger? So ginger was used in a lot of the recipes, and it just goes great with fruit as well as with proteins. But But ginger has some really cool health properties, as well as being very tasty and just a general source of antioxidants. There have been studies that shown that ginger can help post-workout muscle recovery. So if you lift weights, you know, you're kind of sore the next day. There have been some preliminary studies that have shown that people who take ginger capsules have less post-exercise pain or inflammation. Also, I think it's fairly well known, but ginger is great for nausea. So pregnant women, and also like if you're going on a trip and you get car sick, ginger is a great natural remedy for that. Also tastes great.
You can roast ginger too, and when you roast it, it really softens it and brings out some of the natural caramelization, and it almost takes on a completely different character when you roast it or toast it a little
And there's
bit.
a roasted spice, a gourmet line.
A gourmet line of roasted ginger and coriander.
So if you don't want to roast it yourself, there's actually, we sell it pre-roasted for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Great.
Cool.